In this lesson, we're addressing target price. Do you know your target price? We're going to discuss how to determine your target price and when you should tell your target price and when you shouldn't tell your target price to a factory. Most people think that they need to wait to meet the factory to get a price. And my advice is don't wait. You can do this at home. You can do it in a matter of hours. You can reverse engineer and figure out what your target price needs to be. Here you see an equation. On the far right is the retail price equals the markup of your target price plus the shipping cost plus the import tax plus your target price in purple. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what is the target price based off of our retail price. And so we start with the retail price and we work backwards. So let's talk about retail price. You can figure out what your retail price is. Either you just decide what you're going to sell it at, or you see what other brands are selling at and base your target retail price based on what's happening in the market. Then when it comes to tax, you can get help to figure out. You basically have two options. You can learn online and figure out how to do it, or you can hire a customs broker. I also have a guide, which is part of this course, where it takes you through step by step and explains how to figure out your tax. You basically have to understand what the harmonized system is. You have to look up your HS code, and then with that HS code, you have to look up the actual tax, which is in the harmonized tariff schedule, which is different for every country around the world. So just as an example, if you're producing a t-shirt in Vietnam and shipping it into the US, then if it's a cotton t-shirt, you have to pay 16.5% duty. If it's a t-shirt made out of polyester, you have to pay a 32% duty. So it's that number, that percentage that you have to figure out. Next is shipping. And to figure out your shipping costs, also you have two options. You can go online. There are websites where you can plug in all the information and they'll give you shipping quotes. Or you can contact a freight forwarder and work with that freight forwarder to get a shipping quote. Later in the course, we talk specifically about shipping and how to work with freight forwarding companies to get the shipping cost. But just as ballpark figures, like let's say you're doing a 20-foot container, around 15,000 t-shirts, you're looking at 30 cents if you ship by sea, by boat. But if you ship by air, you're looking at around $1. So those are the price differences. So now let's talk about markup. Okay, so markup is the retail price minus the cost of goods sold divided by the cost of goods sold. Or as you see, I've put underneath in parentheses, it's the sale price minus your target price divided by target price. And that gives you a markup. Let's look at some examples. So in the top example, let's say your sale price or your retail price is $20 and your cost of goods sold, your factory target price is $5. That's 20 minus 5 divided by 5, which is 3. So your markup is 3. Or if you're selling that same t-shirt for $30 and your cost of goods sold is $5, that's 25 divided by 5 and your markup is 5. And again, this is a business decision. This you decide based on your business plan, your business model. What is your target markup? And it can range from as little as 2, which would be like a wholesale markup, to as much as 6. We know your retail price. We know the markup that you've set as your goal. And we know your shipping cost and we know your import tax. So the only variable that's not known is the target price. So if we rearrange this equation, we can solve for target price. So on the top, you see the original equation. On the bottom, I've rearranged it mathematically so that the target price equals retail price minus shipping cost minus import tax divided by your markup plus 1. And here, let's do an example. So let's say your target price is, so look at the bottom row. Target price equals $20 minus 30 cents for shipping minus 80 cents for your import tax divided by 3 plus 1. And the answer is 4.73. So with those inputs, you can come up with your target price. And that's the number you want to have in your head when you meet the factories. And you might take that number and reduce it by 10%. And then if either the factories will ask you and you confidently answer, 4.65 Or you ask them, and then they give you their price, their initial price quote, and you have a reference. If it's below 4.73, you're good to go. If it's above 4.73, that's reason to be concerned. But at least because you've done this calculation, you have a reference point, so that when you get that price from the factory, you know exactly how to respond. So when and when not to tell them your target price. So I like to talk in terms of big fish, little fish. Small fish is a startup who's new, an Amazon seller that's never produced overseas. A big fish is Nike, that's doing millions of garments in dozens of factories around the world. If you're a small fish, I recommend you give your target price. If you're a big fish like Nike, they don't give their target price. The reason is that factories that are in negotiations with Nike know that Nike is going to place large orders, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 pieces. And so Nike has the leverage in terms of volume to put the responsibility on the factory to put the first price forward. But if you're a small fish and the factory suspects that you're a high risk customer because you're doing low volume and you're probably wanting a low price, the negotiation will go a lot better if you are forthcoming with your target price. Because if you go into the negotiation with a low target price and the factory knows that you want to do low volume, the factory will immediately start backing away or coming up with excuses as to why they can't work with you. And you want to have that conversation. You don't want the conversation to stop because of lack of knowledge on either side. So give your target price if you're a small fish, if it's your first time doing this. And do this exercise before you spend money on designing and developing samples and hiring people to introduce you to factories, or do this before you spend money on Launchboom or Kickstarter, because it's simple and it's easy and it's got to be done anyway. And create spreadsheets for different scenarios. Consider different retail prices, consider different markups, consider different volumes, and do all this theoretical financial projections in advance before you go to meet with the factory. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about reverse engineering your MOQs. See you in the next lesson.